Things could not have gone worse for Rudy Giuliani in this week of his defamation trial in Georgia. Not only did it start off with him showing up 20 minutes late Monday, and then he and his lawyer got yelled at for like 2 straight days, but there was also a moment when Ruby Freeman, one of the plaintiffs who Giuliani had defamed, was telling her story. She was telling her story of how she's had to basically change her name or use a fake name. She had to move out of the neighborhood that she had lived in forever. She's had to buy a new house. Her life has been turned completely upside down. And most importantly, again, she has effectively had to change her identity due to what Rudy Giuliani has done to her name. And while she was telling this story, according to people inside the courtroom, 2 of the 8 jurors, so 25% of the jury pool, was in tears. 2 women were crying while Ruby Freeman was telling the story of how Rudy Giuliani ruined her life. Now, I don't need to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. When you have the plaintiff describing what the defendant did to them, and members of the jury, 25% of the 8-person jury, is crying, do you know what that means for the defendant, Rudy Giuliani? It means you're screwed. Like, there is no other way to interpret that. They are in tears because they sympathize with this woman and, of course, her daughter, who is also the co-plaintiff. Rudy Giuliani is going to get hit. According to the estimates, it's anywhere between $15 million and $45 million. And this comes at a time when Rudy Giuliani, as we all know, is struggling to be able to pay his legal bills. He's had lawyers desert him and, sue him because he can't pay his legal fees. He's having to sell his condo in Manhattan. He had Donald Trump do a $100,000 a plate fundraiser for him a couple months ago. He's looking at hundreds of millions in dollars in lawsuits from the voting machine companies that also sued him for defamation. And all of that other stuff is irrelevant at this point, because the first shoe that's going to drop is this lawsuit, this verdict from this jury. And remember, this jury is not determining whether or not Rudy Giuliani did or didn't defame these women. That was already determined in a pre-trial judgment. All these jurors are doing is figuring out how much money Rudy Giuliani has to pay them for that defamation. And when they're in tears because they sympathize so deeply with the plaintiff, they're going to up that number. Okay, it's not going to be like that 15 minimum. They're probably looking at up into the 30s, possibly into the 40s at that point, because they see the damage that you have caused. I don't know who the plaintiff's lawyers are in this case, but they're also doing a hell of a job. And I do, because I spend so much time talking about crappy lawyers, because Trump and Giuliani and all that. So I got to give full credit also to the plaintiff's lawyers in this case. Again, I wish I knew their names. I wish I knew who they were. But they are doing a phenomenal job. And hopefully holding Giuliani accountable here will help these women to be able to put their lives back together. And it seems like the jury is probably more than willing to help them do that.